Hi everybody, how y'all doing today? Welcome back to my channel. Today topics are rumors except for one. But the first rumor topic is Intel. Intel has decided to go ahead on and release their new stock coolers for the new line that is coming out, the Alder Lake S series CPUs that are coming out in November. So let's get right into the article because it's kind of exciting though. Intel is going ahead and changing up the pace, and that's pretty good. But is it necessary to go ahead on and change up when we could go ahead on and buy a nice, good, good stock cooler that could go ahead and handle the load, whether it's 65, 105, or 180, whatever. But it's up to the consumers world to go ahead and decide that whether they want to go ahead and spend more money on a nice good manufacturer air cooler or just go ahead and stick with the stock cooler that does a pretty decent job. Alright, let's get into the article here. Alrighty, the article is about Intel. As we can see, Intel reference coolers to receive a redesign. Intel is planning to release new coolers for the 12th Gen Core Box CPU series, which I mentioned in November. Okay, these coolers are called Intel Laminar RH1, RM1, and the RS1 coolers. Okay, the RS1 and RM1 are pretty much identical. They still have the same push pins. They still have the same push pin mechanism design. The push tabs, and you cannot go wrong with that. Now, it's pretty decent. This is your plain air cooler here. This one here has the RGB lighting as well as the RH1. I like the design of it so far, so that's pretty decent. Now it's going to be going for all three Intel Core i3, i5, and i7s. Now it's supposed to be based on all 65-watt TDP design CPUs, so it will not go ahead on and overheat with any issues. But as I mentioned before, it's up to us if we want to use the stock coolers or do we want a more cooler to handle the heat load off the CPU into the thermal design power that the CPU is kicking out. Now, normally me, what I would do is, even though if I buy the CPU, which is going to come in the stock cooler, I do not use it. I just go ahead and spend extra money to go ahead and buy me a decent air cooler. Why? Because if you plan on upgrading your CPU down the line, you know your air cooler can handle it. So, with that said, you could go ahead on and have a good, decent air cooler. Because if you plan on upgrading your CPU, you got to go ahead and get an air cooler anyway. Now, all three air cooler designs are based on a 65-watt thermal design power of the i3, i5, and i7. So that's a good. That's a very great thing to know. And the RH1 is for the i9 CPU. So that comes with that CPUs. But the RS1 comes with the low end, the low end CPUs. The RM1 comes with the high end CPUs, the i3, i5, and i7, and the RH1 comes with the i9 CPU. So with that, that's pretty good thing to see. But just like I said, it's really up to us because if we go ahead on and upgrade the parts, you gotta go ahead and upgrade your CPU cooler to max it out everything. Normally everybody on AIOs, I'm on air coolers, so all my air coolers are 120 to 180 watt TDP handleage. So I do not go under 120 and I do not go over 180. So I'm pretty decent with that. But enough said with that. I'm so excited that Intel coming out with these new stock coolers. I like the design of them, so it's pretty decent to know that they got a good CPU cooler reference cooler out. But just like I said, it's really up to us to go ahead on and decide whether we want to go ahead on and buy us a good, decent quality air cooler or stick with the reference air coolers. Alrighty, moving right along to EVGA. Yes, EVGA has now finally released a AMD X570 Dark Fire motherboard. Yes, sir. So, let's get into it. Evga released the first X570 Dark, and this baby is nice. And it is built for overclocking. So, yes, and back in July when they talked about it, there was all Intel, etc. Now they say, hey, let's go AMD. So now they got the AMD motherboard here. One thing I like about it here, I also will be putting J 2 cents video link in the description below because he actually unboxed it and this motherboard is phenomenal. Now, just keep in mind that this board packs some damn power. Yes, the EVGA Dark benefits from a large premium 17-phase power delivery 14 plus 2 plus 1 design for pushing the Ryzen 5000 to its limits and supports for up to DDR4 4800 out of the box across 2 memory slots to minimize the latencies. The EVGA X570 Dark, as expected, is primarily suited to extreme overclockers with a variety of performance enhancing features across the large EATX size PCB. One of the most notable design characteristics include a transposed AM4 CPU socket for better support when mounting an LN2 liquid nitrogen pot on an empty CPU socket areas to minimize risk when installing a sub-ambient cooling. All the major power connectors are also at right angles to be less of an issue when extreme overclocking for records, which that is great. Now, here are your power supplies right there. So instead of having everything up top, you got everything going from the side directly straight phase into the CPU socket. Here is this nice good beefy heat sink. Here is your nice good beefy M.2 sink, and here is a nice good beefy chipset. And this baby has 2, 4, 6, 8 SATA ports. This baby ain't no joke. This motherboard is the real deal. Now, EVA uses a 16-phase power delivery organized into a 14 plus 2 configuration with 14 premium 90 amps power stage, 98 power stage for the CPU section. It is slightly different design to accommodate the transpose socket as it stretches around the bottom of the AM4 socket. It uses active VRM cooling with 2 cooling fans and use a 10-layer PCB design. The 17 power stage is for the memory, providing power to the CPU is a pair of 8 pins, 12 volts ATX CPU power inputs. This board's not playing. And just to go ahead on and hit all that, that's great. Now keep in mind, you have to buy this board off EVGA. Let me go ahead on and get into that right now. And it is not cheap. And it is not cheap because this board is coming in at whopping $689.99. So you can say roughly $690 and some change after tax. So, with that said, to all y'all extreme content creators out there, is this a motherboard for y'all? Do y'all continue to keep buying y'all $180 motherboards to $250 motherboards? Or if you want to go ahead and go for more beef chunk savvy, you go ahead and get the EVGA X570 Dark, which is a power of 17-phase power detection with a 14-phase V-core, 2-phase SoC, 1-phase VDDR at the whopping price of $690? Or do you just sit down here and walk away from it and just go ahead on and stick with the basics? Alrighty. Thank y'all for watching. I am happy to go ahead and get these great, wonderful topics out with Intel rumors about their new stock coolers, as well as the EVGA X570 Dark AMD motherboard. Now keep in mind this motherboard has a nice good BIOS, easy BIOS setting, so when you go ahead on and buy your 5000 series, it picks it right up perfectly without any issues. Now let me see if I could go ahead on and find a nice good picture of this motherboard, because this board is nice. And there we go. This motherboard is decent. I like how they got everything set right. Now I know everybody wants 4 memory slots, 8 memory slots, but just like I always say, you only need 2, and it goes up to 64 gigabyte. So that's all you really need. I mean, with 64 gigabyte of RAM, or you at 32 gigabyte of RAM, but it's at what, 4800 megahertz speed of RAM. So overclocking, massive hungry and power. So you could go ahead and put a 10,000 watt power supply on this cell, and you could go ahead and fire out with your Radeon RX 6800 XT. Ooh. Boy, EVGA, y'all did y'all thing on this motherboard here. And I like this beefy heat sink with all that massive. Look at the massive VRMs of this bad boy here. Just like I said, the motherboard is not cheap. It is coming at $689.99. So that's about good, roughly $690. And what do y'all think? Creators, do y'all go buy this motherboard? To the newcomers who wants to go ahead on and get into using the 5000 series chipset with the new Dark. Now with this motherboard here, with all the parts here, this is going to be an expensive build. Yes, $690 with the Ryzen 5950X. That's like almost a $700 chipset. So you're looking at about $1,500 to almost $1,600 right there. Plus, if you go with the Corsair 7000D, that's a $200 case right there. Woo! Boy, look out. Alrighty, I want to go ahead on and thank y'all for watching. I got more great content coming your way. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.